Welcome to this Megaport Live Tech Drop-In. The session will start in just a few minutes. Welcome to this live tech drop-in. We will start in just a moment. Welcome to this Megaport Live Tech Drop-In. Today, we're going to cover off the Megaport Virtual Edge, and we'll give you a live demo of creating services, of spinning up some Megaport Virtual Edges in different locations. But just to have a little bit of a level setter, just to talk about Megaport and what we do and where we come from, we provide network as a service globally. We deploy our network in lots of different data center operators to make it easy for you to connect to us. We own and operate the network ourselves, and then we make that available to you via APIs or through a portal. So the provisioning and the creation of services is entirely in your hands. You can spin up private connectivity at large data rates around the world as and when you need it. And then you can also bring on, I move on to the next slide, you can bring on elements like virtual routers and virtual firewalls, SD-WAN hubs, and global connectivity as well across the platform. We don't tie you into long-term contracts unless you want to enter into one. And it's all, like I said, under your control. So it's self-provisioned, so you can control the billing, what services that you're buying, and you can turn up and down data rates to suit your needs. Like shown here, you can connect all of these elements across our global network at high data rates using private connectivity. And then just to give you kind of a summary overview here as well, we've got on the left the different ways you can connect into the Megaport network. So what is quite popular is to meet us in one of our 850 data centers globally. You can basically order a port in that data center, order cross connect from your location in the data center, or get a last mile connection from a third-party provider into a physical port called a Megaport on our network. That port is typically a 10 gig or a 100 gig interface. And then that port interface can be used for many different services on the Megaport network. You can actually provision 100 VLANs on that for connectivity to many things you can see on the right-hand side. Down here at the bottom left is what we'll be focusing on today. We'll be looking at the Megaport Virtual Edge and the way that you can connect in through the internet to reach the Megaport network, through SD-WAN networks, VPN tunnels, IPsec tunnels, etc. So either way, when you connect to the Megaport network, you then have access to all of the cloud locations that Megaport has already put in place. So you do not have to worry about the provisioning of cloud interfaces. They are already there. So Microsoft ExpressRoute, AWS Direct Connect, Oracle, Fast Connect, etc. They are all pre-provisioned for you. So you can just provision those through the portal and you'll get a private connection into the clouds through their partner models. Down here at the bottom right is where I mentioned before about our data center footprint. We're in lots of different data center providers so that you can connect, one data center provider to another data center provider. And that's all across the Megaport network, not any sort of other network run by those DC operators themselves. So you can, deploy services in different DC operators, and that's all seamless through our portal or APIs. We also own and operate internet exchanges globally. So if you're interested in IACs, get in touch and we can go into more detail. And then finally on this slide, we've got a Megaport ecosystem. And this is really where you can create your own network with your partners, your suppliers, your customers, and you can connect them all together privately in your own little ecosystem by just telling those partners and customers and suppliers to meet you on the Megaport network. Now, they may be coming from a data center, they might be coming from, an internet connection over a secure tunnel, or they might be based in cloud. And the same could be true for your network as well. It doesn't matter where either party is coming from, you can connect over our network. So we can do multi-cloud, we can do hybrid multi-cloud, and all sorts of different scenarios. But today we're going to talk about the Megaport Virtual Edge. So there's been a big uptake in network function virtualization, and this is where the Megaport Virtual Edge plays. It allows you to spin up virtual routers, virtual firewalls from the vendors that you already know and potentially have licensing for. And it also allows you to spin up SD-WAN gateways, or to create an SD-WAN hub for major SD-WAN providers as well. We're not creating a new virtual router. We're on the virtual edge. We're not creating new firewalls or SD-WAN types of solutions. We're basically just hosting them for the vendors that you already know and are using in your networks today. So you can spin this up really quickly. You don't have to deploy any hardware to do that. You can improve your network performance and security by having high-speed private connectivity and jumping onto a private network. And there's always the benefit of having lower egress fees as well if you're connecting privately to cloud. Okay, so what is the Megaport Virtual Edge? If we look here at the bottom first, it's really just made up of compute, networking, and internet that's made available in key metros around the world. So we have about 95 locations where the Virtual Edge is available in various metros. Inside each of these metros will have two separate data centers, physically separate data centers, where you can deploy virtual edges if you need to have resilient deployments inside that metro city. If you want to split virtual edges across metros, you can do that as well. So you can spin one up in Amsterdam, have another one in Frankfurt, or indeed across regions. It's entirely under your control. So Megaport is looking after the underlay in this case. You have the choice on demand of applying the overlay that you want. So if you need a virtual router, you can spin up Cisco, Fortinet. If you need a firewall, you can do Palo Alto, Fortinet, Versa. And I've got a new one on the next slide as well. We've also got lots of options for SD-WAN providers as well, which make up most of the market. So Cisco, Catalyst SD-WAN, Versa, Fortinet, VMware, Aruba, and there's a few more coming very, very soon that we're going to announce. So as you spin up the device, we'll see this in the demo, you can choose the overlay of choice to run on the Megaport Virtual Edge. Here's a list, just a screenshot of what it looks like inside the portal. We'll see this quite soon, but we have some new MVE vendors who've recently come on board. We've got Aviatrix Secure Edge. So we've got that now as an element that you can run on Megaport. At the same time, you would run most likely some Aviatrix Secure Edges inside your clouds of choice and potentially on-prem as well. So you've got multiple options with the Aviatrix solution there. In addition, we've recently characterized and brought on board the virtual edge options, Cisco Secure Firewall Threat Defense Virtual. So you can now use that on the MVE. We've had Cisco CAKV for some time in SD-WAN mode and autonomous mode, and now we bring on the Firewall Threat Defense Virtual as well. Okay, so what does it look like? So we talked about the compute, networking, and internet that the virtual edge brings. As you spin up the device, we'll see in the demo that you choose the location that the device comes up. You choose the sizing or the scale of that device, and then it's bring your own license approach. So you can bring the routing, the firewall, the SD-WAN license of choice, and drop that on the virtual edge as it spins up. And for example, if you bring a VMware SD-WAN license from licensing that you already have, the Megaport Virtual Edge just looks like another element on your SD-WAN network. You can configure that to be a hub if you want to, but it essentially comes under the management and control of the overlay software that you deploy on the device itself. On the left-hand side, we're depicting here the internet that can be used for management of the device, connecting back to the controllers of choice. It could be also for connecting SD-WAN sites into the virtual edge as well. So this internet connection can scale to high data rates, and we'll see that on the next slide, to accommodate the number of SD-WAN sites that you have and the throughput that you need there as well. On the right-hand side, we're depicting what you can connect to on the Megaport network. So like I said already, we described the marketplace, where we've got a marketplace with over 350 different partners available to connect to, already connected on the Megaport network. You can create your own ecosystem as well. You can connect to IX services. You can connect to any port, any cloud router, any other virtual edge on the Megaport network as well, no matter where it is around the world. So if you spin up a virtual edge, let's say in Paris, you can connect that to a virtual edge in Singapore, and then connect your SD-WAN branches in both of those locations. And the majority of your traffic transport is then going over a private network, and you're not subject to the internet for all of that distance. You can then, of course, connect it to multi-cloud into all of the cloud providers that we have, and that allows you to do multi-cloud through the device, so routing through the virtual edge, for example, so that you can connect, let's say, from AWS to Azure or from Oracle to AWS through this virtual edge. These cloud on-ramp locations, or the cloud interfaces, are typically in the same location as the virtual edge itself, so you can get low latency connectivity between the clouds. Okay, we've also got the ability to connect the virtual edge back to data centers as well. So if you want to do a private connection from your data center to that virtual edge, you can just spin that up immediately as well. All you need is the cross connect to the port in the data center, and then you've got the ability to make that connection immediately. Just looking at the billable items really for the device. So it's, for us, it's based on the virtual CPU, so the number of cores that it's running. And it comes in 4 different sizes at the moment. We've got 2 virtual CPU and 8 gigabytes of RAM. And then we've got 416, 832, and 1248. So the amount of RAM is quite generous for all of the vendors that, based on the vendor specs running on the virtual edge. That's more than enough, and far more than their specs often ask for. On the Megaport Internet VXC, it is scalable from 20 megabits per second right the way up to 10 gigabits per second, and that may be done in increments of 1 megabit per second. So the internet is something that is separate from the compute. You can choose to remove it if you want to, and there's other ways of accessing the device privately as well, from cloud or from data centers, if you don't want to use the internet, Megaport Internet VXC. Okay, so let's move across to the Megaport portal and show you what it looks like. So here we are, we're inside a portal that I have. It's a demo portal creating live services. So we can zoom in. This is showing you all of the locations that Megaport is in various locations. So if we move around to Europe and just scroll in here a little bit, we can see all of the DC locations that we have. But because we're talking about MVE today, let's filter down on MVE locations, and then we'll zoom in a little bit. So let's go into London. We'll keep zooming in here. Let's go into the Docklands area, and we've got Telehouse North here. Now we can see the various services that are on offer inside this data center. we can see that you can spin up ports, the Megaport cloud router, and also virtual edges. So let's go ahead and create a virtual edge. We'll click next. And here we can see that screenshot that I had in the slides showing you the different vendors that you can deploy on the Megaport virtual edge. So let's just choose a Palo Alto device. And here's where we have to configure a few items before we bring up the device. So give it a name, and we've got the version here at the top, so different software versions. Then we can choose the size, so from 2 virtual CPU up to 12. So let's just go for a 12. You can add a reference yourself, and that can be anything that you want to add there, and that would go through to your invoices. Add license data and an admin password if you want to. Sorry, we're on Palo Alto here. I thought let's go back and just provision a Fortinet device. We're doing 12, add the reference. We're just going to add an SSH key. For Fortinet, we can spin up, you can add the appliance license here if you would, but you can actually do that at a later step as well. Down here, we can choose the VNIX that you want. One is provisioned already. You can add additional VNIX if you want to. And you can have up to 5 VNIX on the device, and there's no extra charge for those VNIX as well. You can choose your term here at the bottom from no term up to 36 months. And we're going to look for a name, give it a name, and then we click next. So here we get a summary of what we're provisioning. We add the MVE. Then it's asking us, do you want to add internet to that MVE? We can actually connect this internet from anywhere in the world. So if you wanted to connect in to, internet in Atlanta or Ashburn in the US, because maybe that's where you've got, tunnels coming in from or customers over there, you can do that. Let's just keep it simple, and let's create internet in London. In fact, it's going to be in Telehouse North as well, in the same zone. So here we can just choose the size of internet that we want, up to 10 gig. We can choose the VNIC it's attached to, whether it's tagged or untagged, the term for that as well. And then we click next on that. We get a summary of that, and we add that virtual cross connect. Okay, so that goes to our shopping cart on the left-hand side. We then get a summary of what we're going to order, and we can go ahead and order that. So this goes ahead and is now being provisioned. So what's happening is the network compute is being provisioned here under this element. And that's available pretty quickly within a minute or two. And then the internet connection is also being provisioned at the same time. So typically after a few minutes, the internet interface is up and running, and we'll be able to ping the device. We can go in and see what that looks like right now. If we go into details, this is the address that will be provisioned on that device. So any of you guys who are quick out there can start pinging that right now. So these devices, this device comes up, and then the software or the overlay starts to run on top of that. And then after a few minutes, you'll be able to log into the device, add additional security controls to that as well, add licensing, do whatever you want to do on the overlay. Let's just spin up another device. So if we go into, let's go to France, let's go to Interaction Par 5. And let's look at some of the other devices that we have here. We did have a quick preview earlier of Palo Alto, so you can see some of the parameters you provision here. Again, these are all the same. Select the version, give it a name, size. You need to add, you can optionally add license data. You have to add an admin password and an SSH key. And then you choose your virtual interfaces. By default, 2 of them are enabled through the GUI here. For Aviatrix, if we look at that one, it's quite similar. 3 interfaces are pre-provisioned. In this case, Aviatrix uses a cloud init file. So you choose the file, you get that from your Copilot management of Aviatrix. Choose that file, upload it here, and then the device will boot up and check into the orchestrator there. For Cisco Firewall Threat Defense, it has 4 interfaces up and running, and it has various pieces that you need to fill in, including the Cisco Firewall Management Center IP address and registration key. And there's options there for NAT as well, if that FMC is behind a NAT and not directly addressable. But let's just go into Cisco C8KV and have a look here. We can provision one of these. Let's just provision a small one in this case, because maybe we just need it for some light resources. We can choose an SD-WAN mode. So this mode would allow you to use the device within Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN Manager, formerly known as vManage. Incidentally, the Megaport Virtual Edge is fully integrated as an interconnect gateway into the Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN Manager as well. So you can drive all of the configuration of the device through the GUI provided by Cisco. You can spin up the device, you can connect it to cloud and multi-cloud, you can connect it to ports and other NVs as well. All of that workflow is taken care of you, and it's very streamlined and very smooth. In this case, we're going to create an autonomous mode device. So like a standalone C8KV router, we can add additional VNICs if we want to. Let's just add the whole lot of VNICs. So we've got all of them there. We can then select next on that, add that virtual edge, and then we can create an internet just like we did before. Now this time we've got an MV in Paris, but let's say we wanted to connect the internet in Switzerland for some reason. Maybe we've got resources there doing IPsec tunnels into this device. So we can do that. Just give it 100 meg in this case. We'll choose the VNIC for that. And then we can add that VXC. So again, we can go ahead and order that. And order now. So now you can see we've got, the House North one in London, that is up and running. We've got this one in provisioning status. We could actually connect these two together, even though one's Cisco, one's Fortinet, and then you could work on the overlays to get a tunnel up between these. Let's just go ahead and do that. We can create a private connection between these two devices quite quickly. And we can fast through this. If you want to see a slower demo, or if you want to talk to us, then please do get in touch. Here, I'm choosing the data rate between them. Let's just make that a gig. We can then choose the VNICs. We could assign VLANs. If I don't assign a VLAN, Megaport will do that for you. And then you can choose to have that on no subscription or on one of the terms. So we get a summary of that, and that gets added to the shopping cart. What we can also do is, like I said earlier, connect into cloud. So for the final part of the demo, we can, for example, connect into a cloud provider. We've got these other things. We've got Megaport Internet. We've got the marketplace. You can enter a service key to connect to a third party and create your own ecosystem. But in this case, we're going to connect into cloud. And like I said at the beginning, we've got all of the cloud connections already in place. You can see the sheer scale and the number of the connections that we have. Let's just create one into AWS. We support all of the partner models that AWS provides. Let's just go for hosted connection. Now, again, even though this virtual edge device is in London, we can connect this to any AWS cloud on-ramp that Megaport has connected around the world. Okay, so we can connect this to Sydney if you want to. It can go off to the US, Stockholm, Singapore, whatever you need to. So what's quite common is connecting into Ireland, into EU West 1. You can do that by connecting here. We, again, give it a name. This is an AWS virtual cross connect. We choose the data rate that we want up to 10 gig. Let's just choose 2 gig. We can then choose the VNIC, choose the VLAN. I'll just let that auto complete. And now on this page, I just need to get my AWS account ID so that we know where to direct this. And that's it. You get a summary of that, and then you've got these services ready to order. Both of these virtual edges are up and running, and then I can go ahead and order these services as well. So that's it for the demo today. Thank you for joining. Please do get in touch if you want to see additional demos or talk through anything that you've seen today. There are many different solutions that you can have. The virtual edge is very flexible, and it's amazing what customers can come up with. So if you do have any requirements or you want to talk it through with a solution architect, then please do get in touch. And don't forget to sign up for the next live tech drop-in. We have this every Friday, and just brief overviews of various aspects with live demos. And we also make these available on YouTube as well, so that you can go through and run some catch up on those. Thank you very much.